Angel, do you remember the movie Legend with Tom Cruise?
I do. I'm a fan. Ridley Scott. Forget what year it came out in.
It came out a long
He
time ago. I feel like it was the 80s.
No, it was the 80s. I'm pretty good at years. I'm trying to
Young Tom
remember.
Cruise. I can't remember who the female lead is. All I remember is it was like saving a unicorn because that somehow saved the world. Or the unicorn saved them. Do you remember?
So it's 85. Tim
Okay.
Curry played the devil or demon darkness, I think
Uh,
is a fish. And like the girl was Mia Sarah. So yeah, it was an interesting movie, especially Tom Cruise. I feel like he was sort of miscast in it, but it looks great.
I feel like he goes shirtless during it though, so that's on, on point.
I don't know if there's a lot of running with him.
No, that's true.
Um,
That's true.
but basically the Lord of Darkness is trying to take
Kill the last
the
unicorn, right?
we'll take the power from the unicorn.
Yeah.
If I recall, he rounds up a team or sends off a team of like these great looking creature characters and like practical effects and makeup to go steal the horn of the unicorn, and that there's just
hmm
like destroys like the world and all of that. And Tom Cruise has got to sort of save the day. And if I recall, also like the
I mean,
dark.
that's quite on point for Mission Impossible right there. Somebody's going to destroy the world, and only Tom Cruise is up for the job of doing it. And it's some weird, bizarre situation that for some reason he's got a special set of skills to handle.
Yes, that's probably a good early interpretation of that, and probably what set him off to go start doing Mission Impossible movies. Yeah, this is like I forget his character's name in the movie. Jack. You know
Jack
he's getting
McCunkfest.
he's he's received. Do you accept this mission to
The
save?
unicorn and the young maiden.
Yes, and no, it's okay. I mean, the movie's fine. I like it. It looks great. The production design, the practical effects and makeup effects are really cool and very ghoulish. Tim Curry as Darkness is like awesome. That I don't know if you remember like his character and the what he was wearing and all that was really cool. And the
Can't say
score is
that I recall.
awesome. The score by Tangerine Dream is awesome. Though there are two versions of the movie.
Oh,
One,
I didn't know that.
yeah, there's a director's cut, which is very common for Ridley Scott.
20 minutes longer of additional stuff that is not necessarily needed. I gotta say the one movie that the director's cut I believe is just far superior. Actually, it might be two. The Abyss, the director's cut, it has a missing scene that's not in the movie near the end that I think is crucial. And when I first saw the movie, I saw the director's cut and I didn't realize that I had seen the director's cut. When I saw the movie without that wasn't the director's cut, I was like, it's missing a scene. And then I feel like Blade Runner. I mean, it's got so many versions, but I feel like the director's cut did a change that was better. I think that was the second release, right? Aren't there like four different releases of Blade Runner?
Yeah, there's like four different cuts of Blade Runner, and the last one is called the final cut.
I think you and I saw that in theaters, maybe.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, we saw that when that came out a long time ago.
Yeah. And then the other movie that I think of when I think of unicorns is Unicorn Store, which was starring and directed by Brie Larson, has Samuel L. Jackson in it. Really like I call it like a playful, weird, quirky kind of indie film on the story of essentially a woman who is offered to be given a unicorn, but she has to be able to care for it properly. And the unicorn store like pops up, and yeah, it's I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was one of those, surprise movies because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was or as amusing as it was. I think the trailer actually was one of those ones that threw me off, where the trailer was a little bit more like, oh, really fun, quirky, very much, but not showing the depth of the movie. And so when I got to see the movie, the depth pulled me in, and it was like, oh, it's more than just this one concept idea of this person can get a unicorn. And then like a fun, I won't spoil it, but the ending's kind of fun, not necessarily what you would expect how it would play out.
I've never seen it. I do when I looked it up on IMDb just to refresh my memory. I recognized the poster and I was like, oh, okay, I remember this, seeing this trailer when it came out 4 years ago or so, during COVID. But I didn't. I should have rewatched it before this. But is it a magical myth? Is there a
Yeah,
magical element to it?
there's definitely a magical mystical element of it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
100%. Yeah, it's like set in everyday world and then this sort of magical mystical element comes in and there's sort of a moment of like, is this real? From the character's perspective. So the character sort of you're leading with it and then it's like, "Oh, we're going along with it." You know, does it have that payoff? Kind of what's going on or is it a hoax? And they kind of play around with that, which is kind of fun.
Interesting. Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. And the audience may be asking, why are we talking about unicorn movies? That's a weird thing, but it's a perfect segue into talking about today's trailer. We are trailer teardowns, where we take a trailer and discuss the nuances within it that make us want to see it or take a hard pass. I am co-host Evan Bass-Seisel with co-host Angel Acevedo, and today we are discussing the trailer for Death of a Unicorn.
Yes, so I've never heard of this movie until the trailer came out last month, and I was like, all right, what's this movie about? So checked it out and I was like, okay, this is something we should dissect and discuss and see what we think. It's an A24 movie. Movie's written and directed by Alex Sharfman. According to IMDb, this is his first film that he's directed, but he's actually produced over, well, approximately like 19 films with a mix of features and short films. The movie stars Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd, Will Poulter, Taya Leone, and some others. It doesn't have an official release date yet. The trailer says spring 2025, so that could be March, April. And so, yeah, this is an A24 film, and if you're not familiar with A24 film, they're like one of these mini studios, mini major studios, and they do a lot of different kind of films.
Was A24 12 Years a Slave, or is that Plan B?
Well, Plan B was they produced it, or one of the production company. I can't remember actually who distributed.
But the what about what's the movie with Swiss Army Man? Swiss Army Man. That movie, I think A24 may have done that, which was the whatchamacallit brothers who did Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was one of their early films, feature films. I feel like A24 was that, as Angel clickety clacks on IMDb.
Yeah, A24. They did. I'm trying to see like their sort of filmography. They do have a lot of films, but yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. They won for Best Picture.
Did they do Swiss Army Man?
They've done. I don't know. That's something we'll have to just like double check on. But they've done like Spring Breaker, Spectacular Now. They've blown up. They've done Lady Bird, Moonlight.
But as you can see, sort of they're sort of in the bigger indie films, definitely award-winning ones, but not necessarily like giant budget productions.
Yeah, and they do a lot of like interesting stories, different non like, you know, not like your traditional studio fare of like
Tom Cruise saving the last unicorn.
Exactly.
Instead, they're like, oh, let's kill a unicorn.
Yeah, they do a lot of edgy stuff too as well, and they do a lot of cool horror movies as well. But, you know, this one, what caught me off guard on this was like, you know, the story and the concepts vary kind of like in A24's wheelhouse.
To quote one of the commenters on the trailer, like, I wasn't expecting the title to be literal.
This is like, I feel like the first like A24 film, that trailer that I've seen, that's like, oh, this feels like they're trying to get very Hollywoody and mainstreamy with their casting. You got Jenna Ortega, who's really hot right now with Wednesday and the Scream movies and Beetlejuice 2 and other things that she's got in the works.
I think so, but at the same time, the content is not something that I think is very mainstream-y. I mean, it's like straight up the beginning of this trailer, they are driving to this, it seems like, pharmaceutical company's house that has this big, I guess it's like a preserve or sort of a national park or some kind of, you know, park that they've just donated to. It's tongue in cheek of like, oh, they, you know, they're not just a pharmaceutical company. They do some good things. And then they hit and kill this unicorn, right? Like a very weird start to.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a dark comedy for sure. But no, I guess I'm talking about more like they're trying to bring in a different kind of audience, I feel, to their films. And Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega sort of bring that sort of four quadrant type of audience, or it's like, oh, I like Jenna Ortega, I'm going to see this movie. I like Paul Rudd, he's fun, he's Paul Rudd.
I mean, I like both of them, and I will see this because I like both of them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there you go. So yeah, a lot of the movies, if you were to like, look at maybe like just grab five random trailers from A24's library, they're not at this level. I feel like of stars. Will Poulter, he's kind of like up and coming, but yeah, there's a lot more of like, oh, new faces that you would see in A24, or unless it's like Tilda Swinton who does just like oddball stuff. But yeah, that's just like my first gut reaction of like, oh, this is A24 trying to get a little mainstreamy. The concept is, out there and weird, dark comedy, killing unicorns, very mystical there, and fantastical and satire-esque with the, what's kind of going on. But it's like, let's balance it out. Let's bring in some audience-friendly faces that we can get people to come and watch.
Yeah. Though I did get a feel of a huge sort of social commentary on this. I mean, the main family they're going to meet is this pharmaceutical company. They clearly in the trailer are kind of like, oh, we can use this to create a cure for something, but they come off to me very much like, a mockery or a satire nod to the Sackler family, who, for those who don't know, ran Purdue Pharma with the whole opioid epidemic, and were sort of pushing opioids on the population, knowing the harm it did. And then there's also made me think of Martin Shkreli. I can't pronounce his last name, but that's the pharma bro who bought the AIDS medication that was like $10 and raised it to $750 per dose, and was just like the pinnacle of pharmaceutical companies taking advantage of other people. And there being, a cure. I think in the trailer, they're like, oh, there's, it also cures cancer. And they're like, oh, that's the one that we're going to focus on. And it came off to me very much like, this is what happens when something amazing does get killed. And instead of mourning it or doing, trying to save it, they're trying to harvest it to figure out how they can make a lot of money off of it. Very much, sort of capitalism, and definitely big pharma commentary.
Definitely has that satire tone to it. I'm trying to recall like when they're like, oh, we can use the unicorn's whatever powder or dust or blood to like cure cancer. That's the big one. That's a pretty funny line. Like, who's the good character there? Right now, it seems like Jenna Ortega is like the good character, and everyone else is probably trying to take advantage of the situation and see how they can make money off of it.
And I feel like Paul Rudd is playing a similar character as he played in, what is it? Is it Dinner for Idiots? Is that the name of the movie? It was a remake. It's the one, it says Steve Carell, and I think it's Dinner for Idiots, where Paul Rudd's character is playing along with his boss because he wants to get ahead. However, he is, more on that moral middle ground where he's playing along, but clearly doesn't feel comfortable doing this. And then by the end, switches over and is a good person.
Dinner for Schmucks.
Dinner for Schmucks. Yeah. Which I think might have been a remake of a movie called Dinner for Idiots. But I think, Dinner for Schmucks.
Another thing that I just kind of like noted is like Paul Rudd just seems like he's just doing Paul Rudd.
He's a leading man, I think. I mean, Paul Rudd is always Paul Rudd, a little less, character actor when it comes to playing the parts. But, people love Paul Rudd ever since, I think, Clueless. I mean, I guess there's probably before that too. But I think that's what Paul Rudd brings, right? Is Paul Rudd. And I mean, not that Jenna Ortega does that much, character acting either. It's more Jenna Ortega's got kind of like a young Aubrey Plaza kind of feel, and it's fun to watch. And she's got her dry sense of humor. I think Paul Rudd's got his innocent but lovable kind of, sensibilities, and Jenna Ortega's got her thing. I think Paul Rudd's most charactery thing I feel like I've seen him in was My Idiot Brother, maybe, and he's still very much Paul Rudd, but he does a little bit more there.
It doesn't grab me. It's like, oh, Paul. Like honestly, like some of those shots in the car in the beginning, it just felt like, oh, is this footage from Ghostbusters Afterlife? It just seems sort of like he's just playing.
But that's Paul Rudd. That's what he does. I mean, but that's why people like him. I think it's, it's Ant-Man. I mean, it's similar. He's got his kind of, it's semi-comedic. It's like the guy you want to hang out with. And Jenna Ortega is like, she's kind of a moody but she's got a wry sense of humor, and she is usually pointing out something that's correct. So it's that friend you want to have. I don't know. I think that's what leading people do. It's like Tom Cruise, you like him as the hero because he's very good at playing the leading man who has a challenge, plays the tough guy, but at some level does have a little bit of heart underneath it that you can see. And so that pulls you in and makes you feel for the character. Very different than, say, like Taken or, other movies where they build it in different ways. But I think that's what a lot of sort of leading actors, I don't want to say like leading man, leading woman, because I'm sure there's a better term now, that do, though, is you're there to see them. And then there's other people like Stanley Tucci who completely melt into characters. Or
Seeing Paul Rudd doing Paul Rudd doesn't excite me, So who knows? Maybe he does something different. Maybe there's a twist. Maybe he just ends up being. But I don't know. It just doesn't excite me.
You have some thoughts on the CGI. I thought it was playfully done. What are your thoughts?
Two shots that, like, just to call out, like, really stuck out to me. Shot at 1 minute and 40 seconds with the unicorn foot, like it steps down. It looks like an early previs quality to it. And a shot a couple seconds later at 1:43, the horn going through the door just doesn't look good to me. And like, hopefully they finesse it before the movie's release. And maybe just kind of the tone of the movie, and just like, okay, it's not totally meant to like look that realistic. And A24's, their movies don't have huge budgets relatively. I think I could see why maybe the effects on this are kind of shortchanged, and hopefully they can get a little bit better.
I didn't notice it as much, but I think I don't really focus on that as much.
Those two shots kind of like stuck out to me. They look kind of straight to video-esque effects. A24 doesn't spend a lot of money. Granted, more money does not equate good. I agree to that. I stand by that. Case in point, Red One probably had like a $250 million budget, and the VFX on a lot of that was just kind of horrendous.
That said, I did see Red One since we last talked, and you brought it up, and I actually think it's one of Dwayne Johnson's better movies in the last number of years. I enjoyed it. I mean, but yes, I mean, I don't focus on the VFX as much. I'm like a more suspension of disbelief. But it does do better. It's better when it's smoother, and so you don't have to suspend as much disbelief. One thing related to sort of visual effects, and I don't know if it is sort of a minor detail that I just noticed or if it's purposeful. For me, I always assume there are purposeful choices in the film. So one thing that is clearly a purposeful choice is the color scheme. If you look at it, Jenna Ortega is red, right? She's got a red hoodie / cape. She's got headphones in the car that are red that match. Even if you look closely, her hair is color highlighted with red. And then you look at Paul Rudd, and he's in blue. His shirt initially is blue, and then it looks like he changes shirts, but it's like a blue checkered shirt. And then the Pharma family is all black and white. Like they're either all in black or they're all in white, or they're a mix of that. One of them, they reference the bathing suit, and it's technically a black and white striped bathing suit. So I thought that was really interesting, because besides that, there's only very sort of select popping of color, and that's usually a red that pops, and it's oversaturated, and they're in a number of shots. One, there's a Bloody Mary being drunk, which I'm assuming might relate to the Vitality thing that you mentioned. And then there's like the drug bag logo has a bright red. There's an IV drip that has a bright red. There's a dinner table scene that you see a couple times, and it looks like there's pomegranates in it that are bright red, which I think is interesting because maybe that alludes to Persephone being kidnapped by Hades, which in Greek mythology is linked to pomegranate seeds, linked to why we have the seasons, because Persephone was kidnapped by Hades, and then her mother Demeter, who controls sort of the weather, I believe, is very sad. And because Persephone ate six, I think it was six pomegranate seeds, that's why we have 6 months of cold or something like that. It's, something, but it very much has in that mythology, or I think Death in Venice also might reference pomegranate. So there's got sort of the red of that. But I thought it was really interesting. Like, that's some purposeful color schemes that I'm sure the director and art director placed really, specifically. But then you have things like Jenna Ortega at the beginning of the trailer. She's got these sort of either blemishes, or I don't think it's blood on her face. I think it's blemishes. But if you compare shots at like 7 seconds in, the blemish is on her left side of her face. And then at 25 seconds in, it's on the right side of her face, but not on her left side. But then you jump to 56 seconds in, and it's on neither side. And I don't know if it's maybe the film, she has these and it miraculously disappears, and the first thing they notice is like the unicorn blood or something cures acne or something like that. I think with modern makeup, like, you don't see blemishes on lead actors unless they purposely want it there. Or maybe it's not even a blemish. Maybe it's a scar, like a scar from something earlier that gets referenced in the movie, and then it's got healing properties. I just thought that was sort of interesting that it was subtle, but it stuck out to me because I was like, oh, this, like, it looks a little bit different.
Yeah, you pointed that out, and at first I didn't catch it, and I just thought, I was like, oh well, it's a trailer. It's cut out of order. Maybe there's blood on her face later, and it gets wiped, and they're just cutting out of order. But like, re-looking at it, I was like, oh wow, it does stand out. You can kind of look at the movie and sort of, or the trailer, and look at it as like, okay, this seems like the linear path of it, and it's like, why is it here, not there? And like, maybe it's part of like the something related to the unicorn, and like the magical properties of it are healing her, or whatever it is. Who knows? It is interesting because like, it's kind of obvious when you go back and look at it.
And there's also the chance that, like, left, right side of the face, that it's always on one side of the face, and yet for a single shot they reversed the frame because they wanted, I don't know, the unicorn on the left side of frame, but they shot it on the right side, and so they're like, okay, let's just flip it, and therefore they don't want people to notice it, and it's like, whoops.
Yeah, they could have flipped the shot for the trailer, but yeah, no, it's interesting and curious what that ends up being, if it is part of the story, what's happening on her face and the inconsistencies.
And I was just going to say another thing just related to Jenna Ortega. I think the thing that, and sort of jumping back to your note about Paul Rudd, I think one of the things that Jenna Ortega brings is you get sort of the nice comedic editing that you can do, that you see at 13 seconds in there. The Jenna's character is talking about like, oh, I think the unicorn's trying to tell me something. And it's that stereotypical, like, looking in the eye and all of the universe is revealed. But then it immediately cuts to her taking a drag of her vape pen. I feel like in a Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega movie, that's what you can do and that's what you get, but you get those laughs from it, which I guess that's the comfort that I get in seeing that, and knowing that, okay, the director's playing to their strengths.
Yeah, and it's a good edit too, with the sound and just sort of the actions of it. It just heightens up the dark comedy, the dark humor of the film.
And also you get, speaking of like the dark humor of it, so it starts off with this one unicorn, and then you get the reveal, right? There's not one unicorn, there's two. There's a white unicorn and there's a black unicorn, and the black unicorn is like not happy.
Yeah, so like, I was actually, I thought the trailer, you kind of get the basic plot line of the story and what's gonna happen. But I was actually surprised that they revealed that there are two unicorns when the character said, oh, there's two. I mean, I missed that there were two.
I think there might be three. I think there might be three.
I just went with it, and I was surprised that, like, oh, why are they like giving that away? Like, yes, if you look back, there's a white unicorn and there's like a dark-haired unicorn, but I just assumed one went dark, like the white one, after they killed it and hurt it, maybe it just like it turned dark. So I was under the impression that it's just one. Now that they've gave away that there are two by communicating it, I feel like that would have been a nice stake to keep within the movie as a surprise. So, but you noticed that there were two from the beginning.
And I think I want to say there might be three. I'm actually going to just real quick look back at something. I thought there was a moment when they're in the whatever weird lab thing, and they were like, "We got to give the little one back." I could be making that up, but if that's the case, then maybe there's actually a baby unicorn, and then
Mm.
sort of, uh, sort of. Oh god, this is a dark reference, but remember the movie Orca, like the killer whale like horror movie,
Yes.
and
I
that
I
was.
don't think I've ever seen it, but it was obviously trying to capitalize on Jaws.
But yeah, so I think that I think that's an interesting sort of aspect of it. It's not just the one unicorn, but it also makes me think of, so mythologically, unicorns have been, I don't want to say like taken away from what they had historically in the medieval times been used for, and have been turned into these like pretty magical, wonderful, Pegasus style unicorn, happy kind of creatures that have magic that originally, I mean, there are these, tapestries. I know there's some of them in the cloisters here in New York that are about the hunt, the unicorn hunt. And it's essentially the men of the times in the medieval times were like, we're going to take these unicorns and we're going to trap them. And then the unicorn, and a lot of the tapestries are the unicorns fighting back. And it's like stabbing the men through with their horns. I think they've been sort of put up on a pedestal, especially with modern renditions of them. But they were sort of classically these hunted animals that had some magic, that were, befriended maidens and were sort of calm, but also when cornered, defended themselves. And a lot of the tapestries are very graphic in a kind of a like good for them kind of way.
Good references.
Any additional thoughts on this one?
Just to kind of highlight a couple things that I liked in the trailer. Will Poulter, I think he looks funny. I cracked up when he said, "I don't think I should be in these swim shorts in this moment." Like when they were looking over the unicorn, I cracked up there. The practical puppet at the end was cool. It's obviously, there seems like they're going to be doing a mix of visual effects, CGI, and practical. That
To be
looked cool,
clear,
and
there was not a Muppet in this. It was just a practical effects puppet of a unicorn.
did I say Muppet?
No, no, you said puppet. I just,
Oh, oh, yeah. They didn't bring any live unicorns to this movie.
no live unicorns were harmed in the creation of this film. I mean, Tia Leone also has like that weird random great line. I feel like she's got the, some comedy chops. I think she's joining the next season of Murders in the Building.
Only Murders in the
Oh
Building.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I haven't finished the last season.
I don't know. I guess this is what reminded me of Knives Out, where I feel like a lot of the characters, if not all of them, are there for comedic relief in their own way. Like they're slightly different comedic relief, but they're like, who's the straight man in this? I mean, I guess Paul Rudd, because he always is. But other than Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, though, I feel like they still have their own comedy that they bring.
You referenced that like lab shot or scene.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that shot of the silhouetted shot, the shadow shot of the unicorn monster at 137 was pretty cool and like over the top.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of like worked well with what the tone of the movie that they're doing. I'm curious to see more. There's Anthony Carrigan is, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
ever watched,
No,
did you watch Barry?
I did watch Barry, and one of the last times I was in LA, but this was like, well, not, I guess not last time. It was a while ago, but I was in LA and Barry was like at its height, and Anthony Carrigan came in. I was in like arcade bar or something, and I was like, oh my god, I want to go up to him, but I don't want to bother him because I know how it is. So I'm gonna let him be. But he's awesome.
Yeah, so apparently he's in this movie. I don't know if you caught it, but like he's only
Yeah,
in
yeah.
one shot of the trailer and he doesn't say anything. So, and he's funny. I liked him in Barry. I've only seen him in Barry, I believe, and I'm just since you only see him once, I wonder if like he's gonna be like one of the first characters killed off.
Mm,
There was another shot in the trailer that I thought was cool and I liked. It was when I guess the scientist or doctor gets stabbed,
hmm.
punctured by the unicorn, and you get that gaping hole through his body shot of Paul Rudd. That was pretty fun. So yeah, there's some fun stuff in there.
All right, so Angel, what is your verdict on this?
Do you want to do something different? Do you want to like guess each other's
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Let's do that. Okay,
ratings?
I'm gonna guess. because of your comments on like Paul Rudd and it not doing it for you, I'm gonna say this one is a like you'll stream it. You'll save it to your playlist and you'll stream it. What do you think? What do you think mine's gonna be?
You kind of alluded at the beginning that you had said something at the beginning of the recording that led me to believe that you're there, you want to see it in theaters, not in a, maybe not an opening weekend, but like I think you want to see it in theaters, so that's my pick for you.
All right. So what's your verdict? What is your actual?
You hit it.
Yes.
I won't see. I'm not rushing to see this in theaters. I'll stream it unless the reviews are just like amazing. Right now, I'll save it to my watch list.
Cool. Cool. I'm if I can see it in the theaters, I'd probably go see it in the theaters. I feel like this is a movie where the audience reaction and everybody laughing together and or like reveal or jump moments, I think could be really fun with a crowd.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I feel like it could play fun
Yeah.
in theaters, but I'm just worried that like it could also be a little bit like one note and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's not
Well,
much to it.
I mean, I feel like also in this day and age, like you could invite people over. This could be a great like group, gathering and watching it as like a house party type thing, a movie watching party of like, hey, let's come over, throw it up on the screen, and we'll watch this together and with whatever popcorn and food. I got my projector and surround sound. I'd definitely do that.
Yeah. So yeah, right now I'll stream it and maybe I change.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. So the question we're gonna throw out for audience for this podcast is, what magical or mythical creature would you not want to face off against, and why?
If I had to pick like some kind of like mystical creature that I would not want to go up against is like an evil fairy. I don't know.
An
They're
evil fairy? Okay.
flying. They're flying. They're small. They can get in anywhere. They probably have little magical powers. I don't know. An evil devilish fairy.
I'm gonna go the opposite route, and the D&D nerd that I am, I'm gonna say I would never want to face off against a turtle dragon. Turtle dragon, which at sea, it's this giant turtle that is also part dragon. And I have this like worry of being on a ship. Like I don't do cruise ships because in my head there'd be like could be a tsunami, and then what do you do? But like you're in a cruise ship and then you get or any boat and then like a turtle dragon attacks you, like man, you are in trouble.
Is there an image of a turtle dragon? Does that like exist?
Yes, I'll send you a turtle dragon. Yes, no, I was reading I think Volo's Guide to Monsters, the D&D manual that I own, and showing my daughter images because she likes it might have been in Fizbin's Treasury of Dragons, but she likes looking at those in the images and was explained to her about turtle dragons. Not the fun mythical creatures to go up against. Anyway, the usual poll will be on the Spotify channel. Will you see it opening night? Stream it, if nothing else on, or a hard pass. Make sure to listen to some of our other podcast episodes and subscribe if you enjoy this. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Thanks for listening.